The Lakers could use a shakeup to their bench. Now, could they use a Shake Milton up? That, I'm not so sure. But that's what we're going to try and find out in today's video anyway. So yeah, in today's video, let's take a closer look at Shake Milton's game and try to figure out why he hasn't been getting consistent time with the Lakers and whether that should change. First, let's take a look at Shake Milton's strengths and see what he does well. First and foremost, Shake Milton is a crafty, skilled, walking bucket of a player. He's a player not too unlike D'Angelo Russell who, if given enough minutes and usage, can really find a rhythm for himself and get himself going on the offensive end of the floor. In the 2022-23 season with the Philadelphia 76ers, in 11 starts, Shake Milton averaged 20.3 points on 51% from the field and 41% from 3 in 38 minutes. When he's hot, he can really get hot, and in fact, in a game, he once knocked down 7 threes and scored 39 points, and he's also put up a bunch of multiple 30-point games where he's hit 4+ threes as well throughout his career. So the main thing you need to know about Shake Milton is he's somewhat of a mid-range maestro. He is a really proficient mid-range pull-up shooter who loves snaking and navigating his way into the mid-range and pulling up on a dime to knock down a jump shot. Even if he's fading sideways, even if his shoulders aren't squared, even if he's under duress, Shake Milton loves to hit that pull-up midi. And for the most part, he has enough solid handles, savvy craft, and deliberate pace to his movements to be able to get to his spots on the floor with ease. This is sort of a weird comp, but Shake Milton kind of reminds me of Ricky Davis when it comes to his mid-range navigation and the way that he constantly seeks out the mid-range jump shot. Apart from scoring, Shake Milton is also a solid playmaker and passer in a pinch. He's a good secondary ball handler and playmaker who knows how to make the simple pass. He's a good connective passer who keeps the ball moving and will typically make the right read in the flow of the offense. In the 2022-23 season with the Sixers in 11 starts, I mentioned that he averaged 20.3 points, but he also averaged 7.2 assists per game during that stretch as well. Now, his vision is limited and he isn't too creative with his passing, but he has historically done a really good job protecting the ball. He's always had a pretty good assist to turnover ratio throughout his career, and if you just need someone to help competently orchestrate an offense, he can do that. And then if you give him enough feel and usage for the ball, once in a while he can show off some of his craft with a creative, nifty pass or two as well. In some ways, I kind of liken Shake to a way less athletic but craftier version of Lonnie Walker. If you took a super Kroger man's version of D'Angelo Russell and fused that player with Lonnie Walker, you'd get some iteration of Shake Milton. So yeah, he's kind of an in-between offensive player. Now, defensively, Shake Milton can be pretty scrappy at times. He has really good length, being 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan, and at times he has flashed some good fight and compete whenever he's fully engaged. And on his best night, Shake Milton can be a solid team defender who can uphold the integrity of your defensive scheme if he's been well integrated. Alright, so those are some of Shake Milton's strengths. Now let's get into some of his weaknesses and the main reasons why I think he hasn't been able to get time with the Lakers. And while we transition over to that segment, if I could please take the moment to ask you guys to hit the like button, comment down below, and most importantly, please subscribe to this channel. That would be tremendous. Alright, let's talk about Shake Milton's weaknesses. First of all, Shake Milton is not athletic or explosive at all. He doesn't have tremendous burst or speed, and when he drives into the paint against taller, more physical defenders, he often looks quite soft and weak doing so. And while he's crafty and does have some nice skill and touch, he's not the downhill paint attacker and finisher that the Lakers would probably want. Ironically, Shake doesn't have that much creative shake to his game to break his man off and make the defense cave. Because of this, I think a guy like Lonnie Walker has a lot more dynamic pop and a higher offensive ceiling than Shake Milton. Another big underrated weakness of Shake Milton's is his three-point shooting. When it comes to shooting, as I mentioned before, Shake Milton kind of lives in the mid-range, And while he has had seasons, including this past season, where he's shot pretty efficiently from three-point land, he's actually not a high-volume three-point shooter. He really doesn't get threes up at the rate you'd expect from a true floor spacer. Which is surprising because over 3 years in college, Shake Milton shot 42% from three and made 2.2 threes a game. But since coming into the NBA, Shake Milton has only averaged 2.4 three-point attempts per game in his career and only made 0.9 threes a game, shooting a pretty decent 36%. So yeah, he is not a high-volume three-point shooter at all. And I think the discrepancy we see from his college days to his NBA days is probably due to his funky shot release. It's a little hitchy and it's a little slow. And against taller, longer, faster NBA players who can close out quicker, I'd imagine Shake just found himself more comfortable in the mid-range area instead once he got to the NBA. And even in the games we've seen him play for the Lakers, his three-point shot has been pretty inconsistent. He doesn't get his shot up quickly, and he always needs to kind of wind it up a bit before releasing. And he's also not a movement shooter who can come off screens and fire away even with his legs flailing and his shoulders not squared. He really needs to plant his feet and have enough time to fire away. And then when it comes to his defensive game, Shake's lack of athleticism and physicality show up in the worst ways, because he can't really hang with taller, more physical players, and he'll often get swallowed up pretty easily by screens. All it takes is one big-bodied screener to stand in his way, and he'll completely get erased from the play. He also just doesn't have a consistent defensive motor and can often fall into lulls where he's just standing and ball watching. His scrawny frame and lack of physicality also doesn't help him when it comes to fighting for rebounds and hustling for 50-50 balls. He is perennially not a good rebounder and often comes off as soft and weak. And then when it comes to his man-to-man isolation defense, Shake tends to get blown by very easily, often making it look like a layup line to the rim for the opposing ball handler. And yeah, overall, if Shake is not totally locked in, he can get beat by a simple quick first step pretty easily, and then from there, he has a hard time catching up and reinserting himself back into the play. Also, just generally, when you watch him play defense, he's too often standing upright and not in a proper crouch stance, so he ends up looking pretty stiff, and again, if a player just hits him with one quick first step or someone comes in with the screen, it's generally over from there. Alright, so that does it for my quick, streamlined, closer look at Shake Milton's game. This video kind of ended up being more of a why Shake Milton isn't getting minutes video than it was a why Shake Milton should be getting minutes video. But yeah, overall, Shake is like a mid jack-of-all-trades, master of none. He can kind of pass, he can kind of dribble, he can kind of shoot, but he doesn't do any of those things particularly well unless he gets a crap ton of minutes and usage. And then his lack of physicality and explosiveness really lock him into a place of limbo where you're not really sure what he can bring to the table on a consistent basis. So back in 2018, I was actually pretty high on Shake Milton as a draft prospect for the Lakers, and I actually have previous podcast episodes, the Lakers Legacy podcast, check out our queue, where I broke down his game in detail and personally advocated for him. But nowadays, Shake Milton has been in the league for a couple of years at this point. He's bounced around a lot, and he sort of is who he is as a player now. And the fact that he never turned into the knockdown three-point shooter that I thought he would be coming out of the draft, I think this is one of the biggest reasons why Shake Milton never, quote-unquote, really panned out in the NBA. So at the end of the day, I think Shake Milton is an okay third or fourth guard option off the bench who can serve as a secondary ball handler in a pinch and space the floor a little bit. But with that said, I understand why Shake hasn't been in the rotation and why JJ Redick hasn't given him more of a shot. Sad as it is to say, I think Gabe Vincent is just a better player than Shake Milton overall, especially when you take into account the defensive end of the floor. And ultimately, I still think the Lakers need to go out on the trade market and find themselves a real primary initiating guard with some downhill driving ability, some real playmaking ability, and some physical point of attack defensive qualities as well. I know, easier said than done. But having said that, I don't think Shake Milton is the bench answer to any of the Lakers' holes in the ball handling, shooting, playmaking department. And if I had to make a bold prediction, I think Shake actually has a good chance of being cut before the season ends in favor of a more dynamic free agent guard signing. But yeah, I know it's kind of unfair to Shake since he hasn't gotten a fair shake at very many opportunities for himself, but the situation kind of is what it is at this point, and the Lakers don't have time to wait or don't have time to integrate a new player with as middling a skill set as Shake does. Worst case scenario, and a guy like Gabe Vincent or even Austin Reeves goes down, I think Shake Milton could be a solid enough stem the tide sort of bench guard who can keep the offense moving and won't do too much that's noticeably negative when he's out on the court. But barring any of those catastrophic things happening, it doesn't look like the Lakers will be shaking it like a Polaroid picture anytime soon, whatever the hell that means. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys think Shake Milton deserves more of a look? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and please consider giving this channel a subscribe. Thank you guys. This has been Jonathan Hernandez of the Lakers Legacy Podcast, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.